Aloha kako everyone. Hello everyone and welcome to a late TV fight. We're going to have a good battle this evening over some of our favorite television shows because we have two competitors who are no stranger to the fight game and a stranger no strangers to fighting each other. We've got Mr. Stressed Out, the man of many names. Today is Stressed Out, Mr. Ryan Payne. Ryan, how are you feeling? I know stressed out, but how you feeling?
Good. Yeah, don't let the moniker fool you. Sometimes when I'm stressed out, I work well, but given my past matches here on Late TV Fights, it's clear that I've not been on the best track record, so I'm hoping to turn that around. If not, that's all right. I can get back to watching TV shows again.
There we go. And on the other side of the stressed out is the carefree. Mr. Richard, how are you doing this evening, sir?
I'm doing pretty well. Just like Ryan, I'm also kind of in the not doing as great as I think I should have been in the late TVs. I have one win. I believe I have 2 or 3 losses. I don't remember the exact count, but it's going to be a fun time. I am a little bit under the weather with the stomach flu, so I'm not going to be as peppy, but still agree a great match. Me and Ryan have faced off twice in Chokeslam, so it'll be our first time facing each other in late TV fights. No matter what the outcome, when you're facing against me, it's always carefree. That's the way it got to be. Let's do this thing.
Nice. It gave us a little rhyme for our time. Excellent. All right. And of course, I couldn't do this by myself. I need some more judges here. So the man right over here, Jonathan, the Raptor Master, Mr. Peck. I was just by the Jurassic log today over there doing some herding of some cattle. So I was in your presence of where you're the master of. How are you, sir?
Very good, Alan, indeed. I'm a big fan of these two in the bottom right here, though, and I see them compete, and I see them do some TV knowledge right here, and even I judge one of the matches right here, even with or without TV right here. So I know what they both had in store for us, so I can't wait to judge this match. And the questions themselves, I must say, we'll see.
All right. And over this direction right here is a first newcomer to a judging arena. And that would be the J, the B, the 3. How are you doing, sir?
Oh man, I'm so excited to be here. It's late, but I'm excited. I have a little bit of experience in some trivia competition with Mr. Carefree, and I know Mr. Painmaker over there decently well now. So I'm really excited to see what they got to say about what they got to say.
All right, so let's get this underway. We're going to keep this rhyme train just going. Now, we're going to start off with our first question, of course. With each round, you've got your 90-second opener. You've got your 5-minute debate round where they can go toe-to-toe. And then you've got your 60 seconds to plead your case, to finalize that case. And then that will be ultimately what we judge upon. All right. Of course, remember, gentlemen, you do have your 1-minute extension when you do want to use it. Please let us know when you do. And remember, at time when the Master Raptor says time, cease speaking and let the time end. And if you need anything repeated, then just, ask questions later. All right. So we're going to get down to business with the number one first question. Okay. The first question is a pretty interesting one. Of all of the Power Rangers TV shows, of which there have been many, who is the most powerful Red Ranger? Of all the Red Rangers, who is the one? Who is the most powerful? And we're going to begin with Mr. Carefree himself. Your 90 seconds begins, sir. Your opening when you begin speaking.
There are many great Red Rangers throughout the time. There are many iconic Red Rangers. But there is by far one most powerful Red Ranger. And it's Go Power Rangers, Go Ninja Storm, Shane, the Red Ninja Storm Ranger. He is a student at the Ninja Academy. He learned the ways of becoming a ninja. When he wasn't becoming a student of the ninja, he was doing extreme skateboarding, hang out with his other fellow Ranger friends, and more importantly, he was protecting the world by being a Power Ranger. Shane has multiple ninja abilities, unmorphed and morphed. He has powerful weapons as a Red Ranger. He has a powerful battleizer, and I will go more into why Shane is the most powerful Red Ranger when we get to the 5-minute discussion. I concede the rest of my time. Have a good day.
All right, excellent. Yes, and thank you, Mr. Carefree, for the one thing I forgot to tell you guys is if you do choose to concede your time, please let us know. Excellent job with that. All right, we've got Shane, the Red Ranger, and now we're going to see who Mr. Payne picks as soon as you begin talking.
I do agree with my point. There are a lot of iconic and great Red Rangers throughout Power Rangers history to choose. But for me, I focused on Rangers who personify about Power Rangers themselves, growing, choosing to face adversity and overcoming so many obstacles to become the best version of yourself. Not only proving that you are meant to be a Ranger, but at the same time that you are worthy to be one. And my pick is a man who was not chosen. He was given the power reluctantly, but he had to fight his way in order to prove why he was the best person for the job. And that is Leo from Power Rangers Lost Galaxy. When we're introduced to this guy, he's a bit of a screw up in certain ways. He had to sneak his way onto a ship to go to a futuristic society. And his older brother, who was a soldier, a leader, everything that Leo wasn't, was the one who pulled the Galaxy Sabers on the distant planet of Miranoi. And then when his brother was presumed dead, Leo was left with this responsibility. And ever since then, he's had a chip on his shoulder. I will go furthermore into why I think Leo is the most powerful Power Ranger, not only including the upgrades and the battleizers he's gotten, but also the storylines that proved why he is the best. And I will concede my time.
All right, so we've got Shane versus Leo. Okay, which Power Ranger, Red one particularly, is the best suited, the most powerful of the two to wear that Red Ranger moniker? We're going to find out more details when these two go at it. Your 5 minutes begin when the first gentleman starts speaking.
Look, as I mentioned before, I think Leo is a very smart choice because, as I said, he was unfortunately handed this. It was reluctantly put in his lap, and he's had nothing but doubts ever since. And he is our protagonist throughout the entire show of Galaxy, as we see him train, having to prove himself not just to himself, but to all the other co-rangers in his group, especially to Kai, who knew Mike, his brother, the best. And to see him grow to becoming a warrior, to where towards the end of the season, he is willing to die in order to save the world. Shane might be a great choice, but at the same time, Shane, when we meet him, he's a bit of a slacker. He doesn't want to take his responsibility seriously. And even when he does get power, there are episodes later on to where he kind of forgets the reason why he has these abilities.
Well, first of all, your argument is saying that he's the protagonist. All Red Rangers are the protagonists in every single Power Ranger TV show. That's how it is, with the exception of Tommy, the White Ranger. The Red Ranger has always been the main focus in every Power Ranger TV show. Leo, right now you're just talking about strongest character, not powerful character. You're just talking about for personality-wise, Leo may be the strongest. We're talking about most powerful. Shane has abilities when he's not unmorphed. He has super speed, super ninja speed. He can control the air when he's not a morph ranger. Leo is just a dude who can just do martial arts. He has no powers of his own when he's not the Red Ranger.
And I mean that when Shane is unmorphed, yeah, he has all these abilities to lie onto, but that means he's more lenient on ending fights using his air abilities and actual martial arts abilities at a ninja academy. Leo, is the fact he has no powers unmorphed is why I see him as most powerful, because he's always training. He's training to master the Quasar Saber. He is trained to bond with his Megazords, which are living creatures. He actually had to earn to get the Lights of Orion, the most powerful power-ups in the galaxy. He's always training every single day to perfect himself, to master himself, to push beyond his own limits. And if you can't see that as a way of grasping the power that has been given to you, then it's one of the reasons why I don't see Shane as a great choice. Because
first of all, okay, you mentioned the Lights of Orion. Shane cannot use the Lights of Orion unless the other Rangers are summoning the Lights of Orion. He does not have access to his powers by himself. And his battleizer, The only time he's able to use the Lights of Orion is with the Battleizer, which makes no sense because they do an episode where when they lose Kendricks, they're unable to use the Lights of Orion because they're missing a Ranger. So I never understood why he could use it. And his Battleizer,
they don't have to rely on the power-ups. That's the best way. Shane, if he loses, let's say, his ultimate Battleizer, he still has his air ninja abilities to fall back on. Leo,
exactly. That makes him the most powerful Ranger. He has abilities that he doesn't rely on. The only thing Leo has to rely on is Lights of Orion, which he cannot access.
He doesn't always rely on the Lights of Orion.
His Battleizers are too big and clunky. My Red Ranger also has a Battleizer, but it's more aerodynamic. It can fly. And if you're talking about Zords, yours Lion Zord can't fly. My Falcon Zord can fly. So he has the advantage. And you're talking right now, all your qualities, you're talking about Leo is who's more virtuous, but that's not the question. The question is who is the most powerful. Lord Zed was very powerful. He wasn't virtuous. Rita was very powerful, not virtuous. Shane is a ninja. He has ninja strategies that he can use. He has air abilities on when he's a Red Ranger and when he's unmorphed. He has a tactical advantage. If we're putting Leo and Shane 101.
He's willing to turn his ninja abilities aside in order to do something like dirt biking or in order to do something like sports. Leo, he is training in a society that's looking for a new plan to live. This society is learning to survive every single day. He has to protect this city. If he is not training to be the best, to be the most powerful, then every villain from Scorpionox to Drakina to even in the Lost Galaxy themselves, this civilization is doomed. Leo fights every day for survival. And you want to talk about virtuous? The most famous line out there, not just in Power Rangers, but in general, absolute power corrupts absolutely. The fact that Leo real quick. Is virtuous.
Leo was able
to fight to prove himself worthy of that power.
I gotta make this point, or I might have to put in my closing. Leo was able to beat Drakina when he had the Battleizer and his powered red suit. Shane was able to beat Lothar, his villain, just as powerful as Drakina, if not powerful, when he's unmorphed. He didn't have his Ranger powers. He had his Ninja Wind powers, and he was able to defeat him. We're talking about most powerful Ranger. We're not talking about virtuous. And by the way, your character is not as virtuous. He snuck on. He took someone's possible spot on that planet to look for other galaxy. That's not a very virtuous trait. Shane rescued an alien woman when he was a little boy that's able to give him the Battleizer.
You're with him to watch him become worthy of this power. And yes, he had to use everything in his arsenal to defeat Drakina, because that shows you exactly what he's willing to risk, what he's willing to sacrifice with his power in order.
All right.
Fight, Ryan.
Wow.
Yeah. We're
wow, yes. Bringing the heat. You almost made me have to pull in the timeout to cool everybody out, but you did well. You let each other speak. Interesting arguments, interesting choices, a lot of passion in this one, which is why we like you two going head to head against each other. All right. Whew. Mr. Carefree, since you started us off, you're going to give us your 60 seconds.
I thought Ryan started.
I mean, that's what I meant. Come on now. Ryan's going to give us, since Mr. Carefree started out, Mr. Stressed Out is going to give us his closing. So 60 seconds begin when you start.
As I mentioned earlier, with us having to be focused on Leo's journey, the fact that he was given this power, the fact he had no idea what he was doing. Every day he is fighting to not just earn the respect of his peers, but he's trying to prove himself worthy of his power. Sure, maybe it doesn't say to a lot of people that makes you the most powerful character, but as I said, the line absolute power corrupts absolutely. We see this with every character in the Power Rangers series, but with Leo, it's because he learns to respect the position that he is in. He learns to lead. And it's because of his choices to lead. It's why he earned the Lights of Orion. It's because why the Quasar Saber he is most powerful with. And to touch back on what we were talking about with the finale, he was willing to sacrifice everything, his own life, with all this power in his hands to destroy Drakina, to save this civilization. That shows true qualities of someone who understands the power that's in his hands and what he is willing to do to wield it and protect lives. Shane, on the other hand, he's just nothing. Every time he's given a power, it's pretty much kind of like a
time.
Damn
it. All right. So we heard Mr. Payne's closing piece. All right. Now, Mr. Carefree, your turn. Give us your closing about Shane.
If we were talking about who's the most virtuous Power Ranger, Leo may win against Shane, but we're not talking about that. The question is, who is the most powerful? Shane has superhuman abilities when he's unmorphed. He has super speed, controls the air, like I've said before, and he has those powers even as a Red Ranger. He has the Battleizer, which is better suited, not as clunky as Leo's Battleizer. It's too big and clunky. He can barely move around. Leo does not have access to Lights of Orion by himself. He needs his other fellow Rangers, so he loses a huge power. Leo is just a man. He's a good Red Ranger. He's a great Red Ranger, but he has no abilities. He just knows martial arts. Shane has ninja strategy, trained as a ninja, has abilities, and if we're facing each other off, Red Ranger versus Red Ranger, Shane is going to win because he has more tools in his arsenal. He has more abilities when they're both unmorphed and morphed. There is nothing that Leo can do to stop Shane. Shane can beat him easily. I concede the rest of my time.
Time.
All right. Giving up that 2 seconds.
Wow.
All right. Whew.
Can I add that 2
Okay.
seconds on? Okay. Roll
All right.
over.
Roll them over. So we've got our arguments. We've heard our closings. I'm going to start this one with our timekeeper, with Mr. Peck. First point is going to go to you, sir. What do you think?
Well, based by the first one, we had to get to the mode. Honestly, but I got a lot of notes up right over here, though, because you two put up a really great arguments right here, and know your Power Rangers right here, though. So, from a Power Rangers fan myself, though, that's really interesting. But based on the opening and the arguments right here, though, the one who swayed me on it and why his Ranger is powerful is Richard, because he put up some arguments right here why his Ranger is powerful right here. Even he talked about the things that even when he's unmorphed, though, if he managed to still be powerful, a Red Ranger, even doesn't have to wear majority is the suit, though, he'd still be powerful right here, though. With Ryan still that, yeah, he shows novelty right here, but Richard put some knots against here right here. Then why did he sort of not powerful right here? He did put it to another source to another, though. So I'm gonna get my point into Richard on this one.
All right.
He can lift
Okay.
things with telekinesis. Woo.
So power wish we all had. Now, the first point goes to at least for the judges around here, goes to Mr. Carefree. I'll take up the next. You both knew your Power Rangers. You knew these characters really well. You knew all their attributes, all their weaknesses. But I think Richard he's more powerful in the fact that he can maybe physically is more powerful. But I think Ryan had a lot of good attributes that made his character more powerful all around. So I think all around, and Richard kept going on with the virtuous. If this was more virtuous, yeah, sure, we'd pick your guy. But I think that had a lot to do with a lot of strength, maybe inner strength. If it's not just physical strength, maybe both these things. So I'm actually going to give my point to Ryan, which means JB3, your first time, you get to be the tiebreaker for the first one.
Man. Oh, yeah. It's exciting. Well, the virtuous versus powerful thing was really, really weighing in my head. It was weighing in my head. It was weighing in my head a lot. Because both are correct. You have power, but then virtue kind of creates its own power and it builds to power. So I was really, really stuck at the end, but I'm going to give my point to this person because it was really their rebuttals. The rebuttals really got me. They were snappy, quick. They were ready to rebuttal, so my point is going to go to Richard. You got me over with not only the rebuttals, but also just even though virtue does create power, the question did say powerful, and I don't know, maybe it's the Zelda fan in me, power is just power. So.
All right. All right. I like the judges bringing in Zelda for their part. All right, then that means our first point goes to Richard. All right. Which brings us now to our second.
I will
Yep.
say this.
Yes.
I will say this. This round is more phenomenal.
Nice.
This round is more
Nice.
phenomenal.
Nice. He had to bring that in. Come on now. He had to bring it in.
Yeah.
All right. So we're gonna switch gears a little bit here and get away from Power Rangers and get a little animated, if you would. So question number 2. What is the best episode of the Spider-Man animated series? Okay, of Spider-Man, the animated series, TV series, which episode is the best of that series? So we're going to go to the web slinger, the web crawler, right? And since we started with Richard last time, we're going to start with Mr. Payne. This time, your 90 seconds begins when you start, sir.
With the Spider-Man animated series, there was a whole lot of episodes to choose from here, but I have to pick the one episode that time and time again displays some of the best storytelling arcs in Spider-Man, and an arc that's still, even now, with the movies and possibly moving further with Sony and MCU, that has yet to be adapted better, and that is the Alien Costume Saga. I picked this one because it shows exactly the best examples of a hero's inner turmoil when they are given something of absolute power, something that messes with their personality, and something of them slowly succumbing to this corruption until it is too late for them to realize how far they've fallen. With Peter, you do see it. It's not an immediate turn. It is the slow, gradual change in him, from his fighting techniques to stopping crimes to him gaining more confidence. You see what Peter could have been like if he did not have that moral guilt of losing his Uncle Ben. You see what man he would have become, and that's what the alien costume brings out of him. And then we see later on in episodes what it does with Eddie Brock as well. The costume is kind of like a perfect analogy of enabling, in a way of addiction. That instead of refusing to accept your limitations or accept your own faults, you're willing to just push the blame off on somebody else, to where Peter has to use every trick in the book in order to rid the world and himself of this alien costume, which does make returns later on. But this saga itself shows exactly how dangerous a foreign substance can be to you if it offers you unlimited power with no moral consequences. And I will concede my time.
All right. So the Alien Suit Saga. Excellent choice. All right, Mr. Carefree. Let's hear your choice when you're ready.
The Spider-Man animated TV show is my favorite Marvel cartoon show, second favorite comic book animated cartoon show. There have been some fantastic episodes within this episode, but the best episodes happen to be one of the hardest episodes of TV ever had, and it was their series finale. It was the Spider Wars. It was a 3-parter. It was Peter having to face Madam Web, challenging Peter to lead a team of multiple alternate versions of himself to take on the most dangerous villain Spider-Man's ever faced. Another version of himself being possessed by the Carnage symbiote. Now, if you want to talk about story arcs, the possible of him encountering these other versions of Spider-Man, not only seeing other different versions, but seeing other different possibilities of what could have been in his life. There was a Spider-Man that was still contained from the spider mutant gene. There was one Spider-Man who was a clone. There was another Spider-Man with a Doc Ock gear, and there was another Spider-Man, the Iron Spider suit, who embraced his life, didn't hide his identity. And I will go on more. There was more struggles in this episode when it comes to Peter Parker, internal and mental, physical struggles. There was a lot of more emotional intensity in this episodes. And it ended the best way possible in the series finale, and I'll go more into detail with that in the 5-minute discussion. I concede the rest of my time.
All right.
All right.
So 2 different sagas, 1 excellent animated TV series, and we're going to hear which one is going to battle the other one as soon as somebody starts talking. Your 5 minutes will begin.
One of the most intriguing reasons why my episode is the best is because we got to see Peter Parker being controlled by the most insane symbiote of all time, Carnage. Carnage Spider-Man was the most dangerous Spider-Man compared to the Venom Spider-Man. I'm going to let you speak so you can have more time because it's.
I was going to say, I was hoping for you to build more on.
I'm going to build more on the next one.
I can understand how you see the Carnage Spider-Man as dangerous, but if you look at that Peter Parker, that's a Peter who's been consistently down on his luck, has let it consume him. The reason why it's dangerous is because from the alien costume, we've seen what we were first introduced to what a symbiote can do to somebody, and the slowly change that we saw with Peter as he is constantly struggling with his moral responsibility to just giving in to the power. I mean, one of my favorite moments from that episode is when he is standing up to Flash Thompson, and that line, "Oh, looks like Puny Parker's gotten a backbone," and then he grabs Flash and says, "I've developed more than a backbone." Just that subtle tone from Peter Parker, showing that he wasn't going to think he wasn't going to doubt himself to grab and break Flash's
The
back.
best part of your episode is when Eddie Brock became Venom. That was the last episode.
That's not
the other first two episodes, him being Spider-Man Venom was the most cringe-worthy thing I've ever seen. Him shouting was so cringe-worthy. It does not hold up to this day. Him shouting be like, "Where are you going? I'm going to make you pay!" Peter Parker's great.
I kind of take the animated cringe better than the Spider-Man 3 cringe.
Yeah, no, it was actually, I might even compare it being just as bad, if not worse than Spider-Man 3. At least you got to see some visual creepiness in the live-action Spider-Man 3 than we did. Like, voice acting is so hard to be bad. Peter Parker being bad with Venom was really terrible, whereas Carnage Peter Parker was so maniacal that he twisted his own mind. He was not only endangering his Earth, he was endangering other Earths of the other Spider-Men. But one of the most impactful things about my episode, why it brought so much emotion, is because there was one Spider-Man universe where Uncle Ben survived, was still alive.
Yeah, that's the Iron universe, obviously.
And that was the Iron Spider, and that brought the epic conclusion of the Spider Carnage, Peter Parker sacrificing himself because he got to see Ben Parker one last time.
There's a big difference there. It took seeing his deceased uncle to snap Peter out of the suit. For the Venom Spider-Man, as cringy as it was, and I think it was meant for the storytelling. We're supposed to like Peter this way. We're supposed to hate the fact of what this suit is doing to him. It took Felicia Hardy having to put his actions up against Peter Parker, having to have him look himself in the mirror. Peter had to slowly realize this is not healthy for him, to where, yes, it consumes Eddie Brock, but I like that struggle more than just seeing the Carnage Spider-Man turned up to 11. And there was a lot more in this episode. You saw how it affected Peter with his relationships with J. Jonah Jameson, even though it wasn't a great relationship, but Peter always had respect for him. But then you see Peter start talking back to him. You see Peter become more cocky. You see Peter become literally Flash Thompson. And with your Spider-Mans, we don't get enough time to meet the different Peter Parkers. Sure, we get to visit their worlds for a while, but we stay with the Iron Spider the longest because it's pretty much supposed to mean, oh, Peter, this is what if you had embraced your powers. I would have loved to have seen what would happen. I would have loved to stay more with the Peter Parker that didn't get cured from his, who still had the extra arms.
That's why I made my episode the best. It wanted you to get more. It wanted you to get invested in these other Spider-Men, but we're not supposed to get invested in every Spider-Man.
It was a series finale. So we couldn't. It was
a series finale, and we got the most epic emotional statuses. You had Peter Parker re-encountering Mary Jane Watson, who he recently lost. He lost his wife. You see him gain closure with Iron Spider's Uncle Ben that he never got the chance to without the series. You got him seeing what his life would have been like if he had revealed himself. You see what his life would have been like if he still had the spider gene. The Venom was the best part of your episode was when Eddie Brock became Venom, because the cringe-worthy stuff of him being Venom. And your episodes had so convoluted, so many villains. It was ridiculous. You had Rhino, Kingpin, Shocker. You had Eddie. You had Venom. You had so much going on.
It was convoluted because
your best symbiote episode. Your best symbiote episode of Venom
further into the symbiote
was the next episodes with Venom with Carnage. That was better than the original Orange story.
Time.
I still
All right, time.
Oh,
Woo!
I'm
I'm
not,
gonna be
Man,
honest. We're not
I
paying
like
attention.
I like
to
how we're
I know
going
you're
to
not.
discuss 3 episodes in one
All right.
in a 5-minute time frame.
I know it. It's
No, I'm
hard, but
saying-
that's what you got to
I'm saying,
do.
but we're-
That's the
we're
rules.
we're so into fighting that we're not paying attention here.
I know it. You're not paying attention to the time. All right, well, good. That's what makes this interesting. Good battles, heated battles, passionate battles. That's what we want. Faux show. And you guys brought it, man. As much as you knew about Power Rangers, you guys know this show, this Spider-Man show. So interesting. All right. Since we started with Ryan, we're going to go over to Richard for your closing, sir. When you're ready.
Look, I'm not saying the alien costumes episodes were bad. The last episode of the alien costume was amazing. We got to see Eddie Brock. We got to see the Venom we wanted from the comics that we wanted to get in Spider-Man 3, didn't get it. The problem with the alien costumes was they focused too much on Peter Parker in the alien suit with the cringeworthy acting of him trying to be bad. Whereas in Spider-Wars, you see the emotional stakes of him jumping through other alternate Earths, seeing what his life could have been, seeing Mary Jane, even though the Iron Spider was married to Gwen Stacy, which that was another thing that was great. You got to see Gwen Stacy, but you got to see his closure he got closure with Uncle Ben. He got closure with seeing Uncle Ben one last time. Closure with seeing Mary Jane, and what's the one thing we want from the series finale? A happy ending, and that's what we got. Peter Parker won. Madam Web was taking him to get Mary Jane. He was finally happy. He was finally getting the good hero reward that he'd been doing, sacrificing his life. Alien costume was great, but it only needed 1 episode.
Time.
All right. Right on the time there. All right, Mr. Payne. Your closing begins when you do.
Not to take a lot away from what Richard was saying, but Spider Wars is a good finale, and that's the point. A finale is wrapping up a lot of stuff because the show was going to go off the air. Sure, you get the conclusion of Peter, making amends with Mary Jane, getting closure with Uncle Ben, but ultimately in the end, what was drawn to us with this animated series was the constant moral struggle with Peter, and the alien costume encapsulates that best. As I said in the beginning, the costume represents, in a way, a struggle of enabling, a struggle of addiction. Because as you saw with Peter, as cringy as those moments can be, him trying to be tough, him trying to be bad, him trying to be confident, you see Peter without the moral ambiguity, without the moral consciousness of every action he has to take in. And like I mentioned, his relationship with J. Jonah Jameson, him standing up to Flash, his having Felicia Hardy, not Mary Jane, tell him you're being a bit of an asshole. Kind of shows to Peter that moral conscience is still deep within him. And Venom may have been fantastic, but it's the struggle.
Time. All right.
You don't get
struggle to get the struggle within the time. All right.
Yeah, you have to take away the struggle part from your memories because that struggle was over time.
That's the time.
You remove the second struggle.
Second struggle. All right. Whew, man, you guys don't make this easy. You don't make it easy. But I will say you're bringing me a lot of flashbacks.
On me, though, all right?
Right? Oh, yeah. Making a lot of flashbacks to this show, which I love, and I'm going to go revisit for sure after this. All right. I'm going to start this one off. I love that you guys both brought details, a lot of details. I really loved, Ryan, that you brought that detail of the of Peter standing up to Flash with that one line. Kind of shows you how the strength of voice acting can really bring something home, which was nice. And how his relationship with all of the characters through that, and with things that changed about him once he got the suit on. Really appreciate Richard with the bringing all of the different plot threads, all of the different reconnections, things they got to relive through the entire saga with the whole Madam Web thing with the series finale, with that storyline. So I really like the kind of the devil's going to be in the details in this regard, because you guys knew them so much. Knocking each other down kind of really helped you out. In fact, Ryan, Really sticking to that. There was too much going on. We didn't get to really spend enough time with each one of these alternate versions. There was nothing really to connect with. So I'm going to give my point to Ryan. All right. So JB3, moving on to you.
Yeah, man, this debate, it had me on the fence. It had me on. I was like they were neck and neck because I was getting convinced back and forth, back and forth, back and forth over again. Which one's better? But in the end, I gotta agree with you, man. I was if I was someone who didn't watch the show, I'd be more convinced to watch what Ryan was telling me to watch because of the deeper story and the same reasons with the other show. You don't get to connect with it, and that connection to me is what Ryan really got me, is where you get a deeper story, you got deeper character arcs, and it's just it means a lot. So you won me over, man. I got to give my point to Ryan.
All right, so Ryan gets the overall point for this round, but we've got to respect our time master, our Raptor master. Where would your point would have gone, sir?
Same thing as both of you. What about cliche? My point would have get to Ryan also. My same thoughts as both of you pointed out there, and also put up the points that would strain their relationships with the characters right here, period, interact with, and make them more than a dick. Not only was, but making like Black Cat told him, like you start acting like a dick right here though, and bring out the voice acting performance right over here though. Paul have a very good point on that one though, so I will give my point to Ryan.
Excellent. Well, so we've got 1-1 overall right now, which makes question number 3 that much more intriguing. And of all of the characters in all of the TV shows, and there have been many, you got to think about who you want by your side, who you want to roll with. So, who of all of the characters out there in the world would be the best wingman to help you find a date? Pivotal, important questions while we're stuck at home on the shutdown, on the lockdown. When it's time to go back out there. Yes.
Before we start, who's ever making the edit thumbnail, this has to be on. This has to be the question. This needs to be on there. Not the 2 that we did. This needs to be on there because I can't wait to see people's reactions. Like, what kind of question? What kind of choices are these?
Exactly. My point exactly. I echo that completely. All right. Once we're able to go out into the world again and find us a date, if you're, not married already or resisting someone, who's going to be that person that you want with you? Who's going to be that wingman that's going to roll with you? All right. Pivotal question. Very important. And since we started with Ryan last time, we're going to start with Richard this time. Richard, who's your boy? Who's your person? I can't say boy. I say it could be woman. It could be anybody. Who is your person that's going with you thick and thin to help you find that love connection? Your time begins when you do.
The best wingman is someone with great character, someone who you can trust, someone who's going to give you the best to help you look for a woman who's not only get you a first date, but possible future other dates, to finally get a girlfriend, maybe eventually get married. And who's the best person to judge someone based on a good character? The best goddamn neighbor anyone has ever had. Mr. Fred Rogers, that is right. The best wingman you can ever get. This man has entertained not only children, but kids, adults, from over 3 decades, teaching people to be good to one another. He helped during the civil rights movement to separate segregation, to help bring joy and laughter to millions and millions of people. And if you want someone to help you get a first date, someone who can give you a future with someone you can possibly deeply love and get married one day, have kids, it is a beautiful day in the neighborhood, because that is Mr. Fred Rogers. I end the rest of my time.
Wow. To go from the struggle to help you find a love connection. Wow, I was not prepared for that. That choice, a very interesting choice. Whew. All right, Mr. Payne. What say you, sir? Your time begins when you do.
For a wingman, you need somebody who's not only going to have your back, you're going to need someone who's also going to help talk you up. You're going to need somebody who you know personally, no matter what happens in a situation, whether if it's win or lose, you two are going to be walking out with your heads held high, and you're going to be bros in the end no matter what. And my choice is Dragon Ball Z's Yamcha. Now, when we meet Yamcha, he's kind of like he's a thief, but at the same time he has a hard time talking to girls. And when we meet him, he wanted to get a wish to get a girlfriend. But guess what? Through his adventure with Goku, he develops a bond with Bulma to where they are boyfriend and girlfriend. They break up later into Dragon Ball Z because some stories say Yamcha becomes a womanizer, or they just fall apart because they don't click anymore. But Yamcha, throughout the series, and I mean socially speaking, Yamcha starts to have multiple relationships. He starts having dates. He develops a career as a baseball player. He has status, something that none of the Z Warriors can offer people. Yamcha has status to where you walk in with him, girls are going to recognize him. Girls are going to want to talk to him. And guess what? When you got like 6 or 7 girls in front of you, want to talk to Yamcha, Yamcha can also talk you up as well. Talk you up to some of the other girls. Sure, you're going to have a 33 or 40% chance of walking out with someone, but Yamcha is someone who's been through a lot to where he knows ultimately in the end, I may leave with a girl, but I'm still going to have my bro with me. And he's willing to take a bite because he went with someone who was bossy in a relationship. So any other girl that comes next, he'll be okay. And he knows as long as my happiness works, because he can ultimately be happy in the end. So that is my pick, Yamcha. God damn, this is going to be fun. I can see
Exactly. I'll echo those sentiments as well. This is going to be fun and very interesting, to say the least. We got Dragon Ball versus Mr. Rogers. Wow. This, we're just going to sit back and enjoy this, fellow judges. Your time begins when one of you starts.
Okay. Mr. Rogers, we know the best thing about Mr. Rogers, he is a listener. He helped telling people, everyone around the world, to be who you are, to love yourself. You are one in a million. He helped fight, the segregation between things during the civil rights era. So why don't you tell me why Mr. Rogers is a piece of shit? Go on, Ryan. Tell me why he's going to be the worst wingman for you.
This ain't about who's the worst wingman. This is going to be the best wingman to find you a date. Mr. Rogers may help you find you a date, but in most regular situations...
That's the question. Who would be the best wingman to help you find a date?
Mr. Rogers is someone who's willing to talk more to your date than talk you up. And he is a listener.
Not true. That is completely wrong. I want people to fact check that. That is completely wrong. You said yourself, Yamcha in Dragon Ball was terrified of women. He couldn't even get next to a girl. It's only Bulma.
But then throughout Dragon Ball, you see him grow to develop a bond with Bulma.
You don't see him ever date anyone else. I don't know where you see him. Maybe in the comics he dated other people. You never see him date anyone else. He is always a loner. He can never get himself a date. He talks, like, if he's going to get to talk to a girl, he's going to be the one to get the girl. He doesn't give a shit about you. He gives a shit about him. Yamcha is only there for Yamcha.
Shit about you. He's always in the background. He's best friends with Krillin, a guy who also has problems getting a girl.
So is Vegeta. Vegeta's best friends with Goku.
He'll talk you up because he doesn't believe in going out alone. He wants to have a good time. He wants you, and he wants to make sure you walk away having a good time. Mr. Rogers, yes, he is a listener, but ultimately in the end, he is not someone, when it comes to wingmanning somebody, you want to leave with your date. Mr. Rogers, I think he's going to stick around being the third wheel, honestly, with Mr. Rogers. I would love to have him introduce me to somebody, maybe start up some great conversation, but then afterward, I kind of want to start talking to
first of all,
and not have Mr. Rogers.
First of all, you can talk a little bit longer now. First of all, I would love to have Mr. Rogers as a third wheel because he would constantly talk me up, boost me up. The woman's going to listen and be like, wow, I'm really intriguing. Mr. Rogers thinks I'm really intriguing. I'm going to talk to this guy some more. I'm going to get future dates. Yamcha is only going to talk about himself to the woman. He's not going to mention you. He's going to say, oh, I can do a Kamehameha. I'm best friends with a superpower for Saiyan. Yeah, like, he doesn't get a girl ever again. He tries to
has a baseball career. He's not going to talk about his adventures as a Z Warrior. You know why? Nobody's going to believe him. And Mr. Rogers, as I mentioned, yes, you want Mr. Rogers to talk you up?
Who gives a shit about you?
Later, what about you? Do you want to start talking to your date as well? Are you going to rely on Mr. Rogers as a clutch? As I mentioned with Yamcha, yes, he will talk me up sooner or later, but then But ultimately, as someone who's used to being in the background, he knows sooner or later I gotta sink or swim on my own. If Mr. Rogers is constantly there holding your hand, that's not a wingman.
Mr. Rogers,
just
hold on. First of all, Mr. Rogers won't be there the whole day because Mr. Rogers is also a happily married man. He's going to spend time with his own lady. So I don't know why you're thinking he's going to stick around the date. Mr. Rogers listens. He understands that I'm trying to get a future date with someone. He's going to give me that time to talk to the individual. He's going to leave me alone. Yamcha's going to be if you're going to talk about who's going to be a third wheel, it is Yamcha. He's the third wheel in Dragon Ball Z. He's there when no one wants him to be there. Seriously.
And
who wants Yamcha? Yeah, you have a future date. Yamcha's annoying. He can never get a girl. He has never gotten a girl other than Bulma.
When you compare Yamcha to Goku, Piccolo, Vegeta, Trunks, of course he's going to look annoying because he's the most normal guy there in the bunch.
Question is, who will be the best wingman? Women remember Mr. Rogers. A lot of the women, Mr. Rogers was their childhood. They're going to take Mr. Rogers' advice into account. If Mr. Rogers says I'm the best person to date, they're sure going to freaking date me.
That's going to be a little creepy there. That's a little creepy with some of the girls who have grown up with Mr. Rogers, and then all of a sudden he's there talking you up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is being a great human being creepy because this generation sucks balls? Then okay.
I'm not
maybe
saying
that's
this generation sucks. I'm saying that if you have the guy who you've watched as a toddler all of a sudden talk a date up in front of you, deep down, you're going to find that a little weird. And as much as I want to spend around with Rogers, ultimately, in the end,
entertaining as this is,
I want someone to.
Who are you going to initially choose? Someone for wingman, someone who's actually married in real life, someone who knows the experience of getting a woman, or someone who's only had one girlfriend his entire life and has never had another girlfriend ever since.
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up. With Mr. Rogers, you're so much talking about someone to get you a wife in a future date. Most situations with wingmanning, sometimes you need a one-night stand. Sometimes you just want to have.
We're not looking for a one-night stand. We're looking for a date.
Kind of fits in that bubble too. Sometimes you just need to hook up with somebody just to get.
That's not a date. That's a hookup.
What?
That's a date. That's not a date. It's a hookup. The question is best wingman for a date.
We got dating apps where people can go on one date and decide if they're going to.
Now you're just changing the question.
That's
all right. Time. Cut it off. Go. All right. Wow.
This turned into.
We knew it was going to get heated, gentlemen. We knew it was going to get heated.
And it did. Beer balls across the room.
Right? Exactly. There would be definitely stuff thrown at one another, but there would be handshaking at the end of the night. Excellent. What we all were waiting for, and I think it delivered very much. Even though this generation does suck balls, we got to have some closing statements here. Since we started with Richard, we're going to go to Mr. Payne for your 60-second closer. It begins when you do, sir.
Look, I don't want to say Mr. Rogers is a piece of shit. I'm just saying when you can take Mr. Rogers and the legacy he has in front of him, and then you want to have him talk you up on someone on a date. Last time I checked, a date is most of the time is meant to be one-on-one. And ultimately, sooner or later, the wingman has to leave at some point. With Yamcha, his background says a lot. He's been nervous around women to where he's had to gain confidence. He has a baseball career, so he knows exactly how to talk to somebody and leave. And yes, being someone who's been the odd man out, the most annoying person, he can help relate to some of your insecurities. So when you are on a date with somebody, he can quickly just talk you up. And also sooner or later, when other 5 or 6 girls has attention, he has a perfect excuse to leave you on your date to retain conversation. And as far as I'm concerned with dating itself, dating is unpredictable. Sometimes you don't know if the person you are with is someone you see a future with, or sometimes maybe you just want a short-term relationship. With Mr. Rogers, if you want a long-term relationship, then Mr. Rogers is your guy. But if you want short-term, Yamcha is the person you want to talk to. And I'm done.
All right. Right on the time. Woo! Okay. We heard about Yamcha. Let's hear about Mr. Fred, Mr. Rogers. Your time begins when you do, Richard.
Look, I don't know where Ryan's thinking that Mr. Rogers is going to stay the entire time. He would never do that. Mr. Rogers appreciates people's space. He listens. He understands that I want to be with this woman to possibly get a date. He's going to just talk me up, and then he's going to leave to his wife, because guess what? He has a wife. Yamcha has only had one girlfriend his entire life. You never see him with another girlfriend. He is constantly bragging about himself, talking about himself. He's not going to give a shit about the other person or other way around. He's going to do his best to get himself that girl. He's not going to give a crap about other people. Mr. Rogers has made a career over 30 years to tell you that you are one in a million, that you are the best possible person you can be. He's been there to listen. He's in there to help you, guide you when you feel at your worst, when you feel at your best. He wants you to be the happiest person you can be. There is no way in hell that Yamcha would be a better wingman in a million years than Mr. Fred Rogers, because Mr. Fred Rogers cares about the people. Yamcha only cares about his damn self. I concede the rest of my time because I fucking won.
Oh, God damn you.
All right. Wow. Wow. All right. We'll be the judge of that, sir. Whew,
Yeah.
But I appreciate your tenacity, though. God bless. All right. Wow. This was some probably I'm going to say right now, one of the most entertaining the battles we've had in the late night TV forum. This is pretty incredible. It kind of lived up to the name too. All right, I'm not going to start this one. I'm going to let the JB3. You're going to start this one, sir. Who's getting your point?
All right, so you guys are gonna know who gets my point because I have a little song I want to sing.
No, what? We're getting a song?
Yes. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. A beautiful day for a neighbor. Would you date mine? Please, would you date my neighbor? Yes. So the reason I'm giving Richard the point is because, first off, when he first said Mr. Rogers, I was like, no. That was before I heard Yamcha. That's a whole other story. But no, he was very, 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 very clear, very, very clear on the fact that Mr. Rogers, is a great guy. Everything about him is amazing. And he was just telling the truth about Yamcha, He just really destroyed Yamcha in that whole thing, So I got to give my point to Richard. Oh, and by the way, Krillin can get a girl. He married 18. Just saying.
I know. I'm talking about relatability.
All right, so Mr. Rogers has a little song about him. So clearly, Richard gets the first point here. So we got to throw it to the Raptor Master. What say you, sir?
Oh, why me? Man. All right. For real though, I did look for notes right here. I look at some great counters for both of you, but I'm gonna agree with JB3. I'm gonna give my point to Richard because he pulled up some very great takedowns on Yaksha right here though, and why Mr. Rogers right here might be a best great man right here though. And for me, I was just like, okay, I don't know what this is going with, but it's like, but Richard explained why Mr. Roger would be a best playmate. I mean, wingman right here, or Yaksha right here. So I'm gonna give my point to Richard.
All right, so the point has been won. Mr. Rogers, Richard takes the point, but I still got an opinion. Not that it counts, not that it matters, but I was totally with Yamcha, totally with Ryan, because, come on, man, you ain't always looking for a wife. And the third wheel argument, Ryan, was excellent. Excellent. That's exactly, I put it in my mind, exactly. You didn't counter well enough because he would have sat there with his changing his shoes while you're trying to talk to a girl, been all awkward and crazy. No.
He didn't give me any examples of why he would stay there.
Get out. And sometimes I ain't looking for a wife. I'm looking for a hookup. And Yamcha would help me out with that.
Not a
so
date.
Get out of here. Nope.
That's not a date.
Sometimes that's all you want. Sometimes that's all you need.
Man.
All right. Let's settle it down. Let's cut up. Let's settle. But despite my opinion, Richard gets the point. So that's 2 for Richard, 1 for Ryan. So, Ryan, you're not out of this yet. You got the next question to bounce back if we so decide to make that happen. And this, we're going to go away from the dating realm. Well, possibly. It depends on what the choice is. We're going to go to overall. We've been through animated. We've been through the fantasies of the Red Rangers and the Power Rangers of the world, and then to the dating world. Now we're going to go to overall. What TV series, of all the many TV series, what TV series had the best pilot episode? The best pilot episode. All right? And since we began with Richard last time, we're going to go, Buck, over to Ryan. And your 90-second opening, your choice will be known once you begin speaking, sir.
One thing that's clear about pilots for TV shows is that they have to get you invested the moment you start watching them. And you also have to be introduced to the world the show sets up in order for you to continue watching it along with the characters. And for my pilot, I picked Mr. Monk and the Candidate from the TV show Monk. From the moment we are introduced into this show, we meet Adrian Monk. He is a private investigator who unfortunately has tendencies of obsessive compulsive disorder, but at the same time, he is a very gifted detective who uses a lot of deductive reasoning to solve crimes. But he's not a perfect person, as we see, because he has a caretaker out of Sharona. And when you continue to meet him further in this pilot, his antics and everything, it drives people insane. But at the same time, when you learn of his backstory, the fact that he had a wife, he was a great cop. But then when she dies tragically in a car bomb, or her car explodes. So Mr. Monk, you see already, this man has a lot of baggage. He has a lot of emotional trauma on hand to him, to where the fact that he is willing to go outside, solve crimes, risk his own personal health in order to do the moral right thing, it gives you a great character. And then later on throughout the show, you meet supporting characters like Captain Stottlemyre. You meet Jason, the well-meaning lieutenant, who's a bit aloof at times. And you see how this small core of characters creates what is a fantastic cop, like another cop procedural show. But the difference is that it doesn't waste its time telling you or trying to hype up with so much drama or forced dialogue. It just sets itself up from there to where you enjoy its run to its end. And I concede my time.
All right.
All right. So he concedes his last few seconds there. And we've got the Monk, the OCD Mr. Monk. All right, Richard, what TV show to you, what series had the best pilot? Your time begins when you speak.
The best TV pilot episode has to show the protagonist, his vulnerabilities, who he is as a person, who he has become, and what are we going to expect from future episodes of the show. And no one does it better than the CW's The Flash pilot episode. We are introduced to Barry Allen. He loses his mother as a child from an evil yellow lightning that we know later on is the Reverse Flash. His father gets framed for that murder, and he spends the rest of his childhood with Joe West, a detective, and his daughter. Well, everyone believed his father was guilty. He always believed he was innocent. He grew up to become a CSI. He go on to look for the impossible, and then later on, when lightning strikes him, he becomes the impossible. He becomes the Flash. This episode shows immense vulnerability. It shows humor. It shows passion. It establishes characters with their own humor and passions and emotional stability. And I'm going to go on why The Flash is the best pilot TV show episode in the 5-minute debate, because there is no one better than the TV episode of The Flash between the two. I can see the rest of my time.
All right, so we've got two very, very different TV shows here with Monk and Flash. All right, your 5 minutes to battle it out begins whenever the first person starts.
First of all, Ryan, you said that your episode didn't have like full-on dialogue. First of all, your episode was 2 episodes. And the first 35 minutes, it was all exposition. This is what Monk was. This is what happened to Monk. This is the quirkiness. Oh, he has this quirk because his wife was killed. That's all the quirk.
I never said I said there was trauma in there. And yes, it was a 2-episode part. That shows the risk when it comes with pilot TV show episodes. The fact that a pilot is a 2-parter, especially with TV nowadays, where one pilot comes out and it can either sink or swim the TV show, or it gets picked up and then guess what? 2 episodes later, it is canceled. With the fact that this was a 2-parter.
That's not helping you. That's not really helping your cause. If your show, if your network had no faith of a pilot episode being 1 episode, then it can't be the best if they have to split it to 2. And also, what distinguishes your show from like other crime shows like Psych or Castle or NCIS or Law and Order? They always have something with a quirkiness to it, or a quirky detective police officer, or a detective captain.
What separates it is the fact that this character, we get from the set, he is damaged, and every day he has to leave his house. He has to touch something while having to wipe his hands is a challenge. Well, shows like Castle and Psych is just nothing but overconfident men getting over their heads. Monk, from his backstory, you learn he was a cop. He knows what he is doing when he is investigating scenes. And let's talk about your pilot with Barry Allen. We already got his backstory in season 2, episode 9 of Arrow, when we get introduced to episode 8 of Arrow, the scientist. We're already given his backstory. It was
we're not giving his whole backstory. We're giving a little tease.
No, within the scientist, he pretty much explains why he's searching for the impossible. He says about the night of what happened with his mother. Sure, we don't get the visual storytelling, but it's through Grant Gustin's performance.
You don't get the visual telling story in yours either. You just get, this is why it happens. This is why it does.
The Flash
is
a whole lot of talking. What Grant Gustin's Barry Allen said in season 2 of Arrow.
The Flash episode 1, we get a little tease what happens in the backstory. My pilot episode, you experience it. You want to talk about damage? Barry Allen watched his mother be killed right in front of him.
No,
when he was a 12-year-old boy. When you're seeing the emotions, you're seeing him, 12-year-old boy, his mother's dead, his father is now in prison. He has to grow up thinking that everyone believes his father is a murderer, but he does not. You see the vulnerability towards the end of that episode where he's talking to his father. He's talking about how he didn't change his name because he's proud of who he is, of who his father is. You see the emotional stakes of only... First of all, go on. Sorry.
I want to counter the emotional stakes too with Adrian Monk. When we learn about how hard his wife's death hit him, he becomes a personal recluse. He has to have a caretaker motivate him in order to get out of the house. And even then, he is doing cases because he is motivated also spiritually by his wife. Personally, even in the part 2 episodes, you start to see what he's willing to do. And there's this one standoff in the pilot episode to where his caretaker Sharona is being held at gunpoint, and a gun he held in his hand gets knocked out by dirty ass sewage water. So someone with obsessive compulsive disorder, that is a nightmare. And the fact he's willing to dig his hand into the dirty water, knowing it's got all germs in it, and take out the villain. What?
We see every crime show has a quirky sidekick. Monk had the caretaker. Psych had Gus. Castle had the detective. It's you cannot distinguish. Like, there's been similar shows, like with the crime shows. There's only been one Flash. And first of all, in your episode, Monk, the only show is really about Monk. In the Flash pilot episode, you see the traumatic stress what happened to Barry Allen. You also see what happened to Cisco Ramon, Caitlin Snow, of the effects of the collider destroying. Caitlin Snow lost her fiance. You see Iris West having to deal with not telling her father that she is now dating her partner. Joe West is now dealing with the villain who came back, who's his partner shot. You see vulnerability. Both our shows have vulnerability. Both our shows have humor. The difference is mine can relate within an hour. Yours takes 2 episodes to fully get the picture. Mine only needs 1 to complete the whole picture. And I'm sorry, if USA, you're saying that they weren't sure. Tony Shalhoub was on Wings. The USA knew that was everyone's favorite character on Wings was Tony Shalhoub's character. So they knew Tony Shalhoub was going to do well. They just wasn't sure the other cast would have done well.
Yes, but ultimately in the end, even if he's a great character, it does not mean the show's going to be successful. The fact it was a 2-parter means they were willing to take a risk on it. With The Flash, look, you want to talk about Caitlin and Cisco, you want to talk about Barry, how he's so vulnerable? Throughout the entire 30 minutes before he's even struck by lightning, everything feels like it's a sort of rom-com situation. Oh, I'm in love with the girl I'm living with who's also sort of my adoptive sister. And then, you see
Tony Shalhoub spends 10 minutes in a psychiatrist's office.
Yeah. All right. Time.
Job.
Don't make me turn this car around. Wow. All right. Man, we might have to. And don't say nothing bad about Iris West. That's one of the finest women on TV. Okay. Not that that's going to sway me. Not that that's going to
That's a
sway
whole
me.
other argument.
That's a whole other argument. All right. So we've got still some again, very, very knowledgeable, deep knowledge of these shows and lots of passion to throw around. But you only got this last 60 seconds to cinch up your argument, to close them off.
Actually,
So
it's
we
going to be
started-
120 for me. I'm using my
Oh,
extension.
you're using your extension. All right, Mr. Peck, he's using his extension. So we're going to hear this when you begin, Richard.
Look, I like Monk as a TV show. It's a fantastic show. But you're saying it has the best pilot episode? I completely disagree. I would argue that Psych, very similar show, had a better pilot episode than Monk. Castle, very similar to Monk, had a better pilot episode than Monk. The first 45 minutes of the Monk episode is just back-splaining Monk's condition and why he is here, why does he have these quirks. It's very slow, and then towards the end it gets picked up, but it's very slow. The Flash does everything that Monk's show does, but with one episode. It doesn't need 2 episodes. You laugh at this episode. You cry at this episode. You understand Barry as a character. You understand Iris West as a character. Joe West as a character. Caitlin Snow as a character. Cisco Ramon as a character. Harrison Wells as a character who becomes the Reverse Flash. You have stakes in this episode all in one 60-minute episode where it took 2 episodes for Monk to just explain one character. You get a little bit of information of the captain, not much. You get some information of the caretaker, not much. They try to cram so much information of Monk to force people to have a leap of faith to see if this show would be successful or not. The Flash, after the 60 minutes, was one of the most well-watched CW shows.
Time.
That pilot episode, sorry. I know that's off there.
All right. All right.
I'm
So
also
we've
asking
heard-
for extra TV time as well.
All right. So you're going to get your extra as well, Mr. Peck.
All right.
Put that on record.
Oh, wait,
Make
real
it
quick.
so.
I have a question. Can I use the restroom
Yes.
while he's doing his minute 20? Or is that just...
Well, he's not
If you
countering
think-
my
if-
arguments. So
But
Yeah,
say,
yeah,
if, you
I
can,
know.
if you can do it in that time, sure, go ahead.
No, I'll wait.
No, you can go ahead.
No,
if you need to.
I'll wait, because it might take me more than a minute 20.
All right. No worries. Okay.
Okay, no.
All right. So, Mr. Payne, when you're ready.
You can give me all the pros and cons about the fact that we spend a lot of time investing into Monk, because we have that for a reason. If we do 1 hour of introducing ourselves to this obsessive compulsive man who needs a hand sanitizer wipe for everything he touches, it will annoy the hell out of us. The fact that we learn about his tragic backstory of his wife dying, the fact that we learn that he has a psychiatrist, he has a caretaker. Yes, we spend a lot of time on Monk. That's because once we learn about Monk, we get to learn him through everybody else's experiences with him, through Sharona, through his psychiatrist, through the captain who was a former co-employee with him. We get different experiences on who Monk was to who Monk is now. With the Flash episode, you're already immediately being introduced to a whole ensemble within an hour. You want to talk about Monk cramming about one character? Flash tries to cram in 7 characters within under an hour while trying to also still focus on Barry and his plot. The fact that it is a 2-parter for Monk is a plus because it was a risk for USA. Sure, you want to argue Psych and Castle. I argue Arrow and Supergirl and Black Lightning for better pilots than the Flash. The fact that Black Lightning, you get better character introductions, you get better character resolve. But for Monk, we need to understand this man's physical and psychological
All
turmoil.
right. There's your time. Whew. All right. Wow. Okay. Very good arguments. Again,
God damn.
passion, knowledge, both these things. You came to play tonight, both of you. And we're gonna start right over this way with Mr. Peck. Oh yeah.
All right.
Who gets your point, sir?
Okay. Both of you put up very good arguments right here. A lot of your pilot episode is the best, but I think for me, the one who swayed me the most is Ryan, because he put out the reason why not only is a great pilot episode and why he explained that why it needs to serve two parts, and also the sort of the backstory of Monk right here, and you mentioned about the caretakers right here, and there are just some things that on why make his pilot so not only the best but very unique of it in the same time though. So I'm gonna give my point to Ryan.
All right, so that's 1 point for Ryan. And I am actually going the opposite way. I think you both had very good arguments, and your closing, Ryan, you kind of shot yourself in the foot with if we spent too much time with this guy, we'd go crazy. But you saved it with the rest of, we're getting to experience Monk through other characters, which was a really amazing point to make. But I think you didn't knock Flash quite enough. You were trying to talk about how cramming everything in into one, but Richard was able to say, no, that really wasn't the case through actually your 5-minute debate. So I'm going to give my point to Richard, which means we've got Mr. JB3 with another tiebreaker.
Oh man!
All right, sir. What say you?
I have to change my name to the tiebreaker soon.
That's right.
So, very close, very, very close. I also chose my winner for this round in the 1 minute end, but it was actually the opposite of you, Alan. I chose Ryan, but it was because the main point that really won me over was he was talking about Flash being compared to, Arrow and Black Lightning and all these other shows, and it just really that kind of won it for me because he's right, So as close as it was, I'm going to give my point to Ryan based off of that main point in his closing argument.
All right, so we've got Ryan with the overall point, which means it's 2-2. It is time for an actual tiebreaker. Now, this is a symbolic one in JB3, but the actual one with our speed round question. Woo! All right, the speed round works, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, 30-second opening, 20 seconds, and then 10 seconds. Yes?
2 out of 3 correct. Actually, it's 45 seconds.
45 seconds.
45 seconds.
30-second rebuttal.
30.
20-second closing.
20. Okay, 45, 30, 20. There we go. I knew that. I was testing y'all. Y'all passed.
So if we have our answer, do we say our names, then our answer, or do we say our answer after that?
Say your name first, and then say your name, and then give us your answer. Okay, I'll ask the question twice.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
So wait, hold on. We don't say our name until after we hear it the second time. The question.
Yes, after you hear it the second time.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. All right. So, we're going to jump to another fantasy realm here. Which Game of Thrones character would make the best companion? Again, which Game of Thrones character would make the best companion?
Richard.
All right, Richard, what say you?
Jon Snow.
Jon Snow. Okay. Mr. Payne.
Beric Dondarrion. I can't say his last name. I can't.
Right. Whew. So, since Richard gave us his answer first, we're going to let him go first with the first 45. Richard, your time begins when you do.
Jon Snow would be the best companion because he would never betray you as long as you're not if you're a good person, if you are never as deceitful. He is always there, side by side. He will fight by your side. He will never leave you. He would never. He was always there for conversation. He will be there. If you're in pain, you can talk it out. He will also be a great wingman. And there's no better companion than Jon Snow because Jon Snow will always be there to defend you and the people you care about.
All right.
Let the
The
time
silence
concede.
lets me know he's conceding the last, what, 4 or 5 seconds he had there?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, we heard Jon Snow, and now we're going to hear Mr. Payne talk about the eye patch dude. All right, Mr. Payne, whenever you're ready.
Sir Beric would make the best companion because, despite many characters in Game of Thrones, he's the one who's always constantly on the move throughout the land of Westeros. He understands the land that he's a part of, whether he's fighting from village to village, and also with his Brotherhood Without Banners. It is a strong bond that he builds with them, and as a member of the Brotherhood of Banners, you get to believe in the cause you're fighting for. Also, at the same time, you get to have two men of great conversations, also meeting new and interesting people. Even occasionally, you might meet someone like the Hound. You might meet Arya. You might meet somebody from the other side of the Lannister army. You're going to meet new and different people with Sir Beric on your side. And I think also with Sir Beric, he is a down-to-earth man who understands that ultimately, in the end, no matter if you're going to die or not, it's about what you do in your life that is important.
All right, time. Whew. Okay. So we've got Jon Snow versus the eye patch dude.
Sir Beric. Sir Beric.
Beric, yes, Sir Beric. Because he's a sir. We've heard your 45. So now we're going to go 30 seconds. Back to Richard. When you're ready, sir.
Sir Beric has been brought to life multiple times. That means he's going to be more risky as a companion. He's not going to. He's going to probably put you more into danger because he can always bring his friend to bring it back to life. And if his friend dies, he's screwed. He'll be in riskier situations. Jon Snow would never put you in danger. He will, if it gets too risky, he will advise you maybe to do something, maybe not to do something. He will fight there by your side. Without Sir Beric's army, he all he really talks about is the Lord of Light, and that's going to be a one-way boring conversation to talk about religion all the fucking time.
All right. Woo. Right on the dot there. Right on the dot. All right. Mr. Payne, your 30 begins when you do.
A man who's constantly brought back to life and talking about the Lord of Light shows that there's more to the world out there than what is in front of you. Jon Snow is stuck in one place, and you want to talk about him not wanting to risk, saying he's not going to risk your life. He has risked brothers' lives in wall battles, taking them also with the wildlings. And Jon Snow, he may listen, but at the same time, he's more talking about his burdens, his own complications. With Beric, he will also listen, but at the same time, he will back you up as a member of the Brotherhood of Banners. And Jon Snow takes a long time to come to a decision, while Baron, the fact that he's been brought back to life, he has quick thinking on his feet.
Time. Whew. Whew. Coming in hot, both of you. All right, so this is going to decide it. Closing 20. All right, Mr. Carefree, when you're ready.
During war times, yeah, he's going to help. You're going to have to fight if you're in the Game of Thrones world. If you're in my universe, he's not going to put you in danger because he doesn't like to fight, but he only fights when he has to. He's there to back you up. If my life is in danger, he will be there to stand by my side. Sir Beric might not be there because if he doesn't have his guy to bring him back to life, he might not save his life. He might not end his death. And it's a boring conversation with a lot of life. That's all he talks about.
All right. Time. Wow. I know it's not easy. It's not easy with it only 20. But Richard gave us his. Ryan, when you're ready, sir.
I would rather be paired with a man who understands the responsibility that's placed on him than a man who constantly shirks it away. The fact that Sir Beric is fighting every single day, and the fact that he might die, understands that every day could be his last. And also, he's fighting for villagers. He understands Westeros more than Jon is beyond the wall. And the fact that he might die again, he understands that his life may end, it might be meaningless, or there's more to it. It's about purpose. And shit.
Woo! Oh my goodness!
I feel this needs to be more than a speed round question.
This is a tough one, and it's only made tougher by the fact that both of you guys know too much about this.
We would kill each other if this wasn't a speed round question.
The fact that you guys know so much about this is a high watermark for both of you. All right, I'm gonna begin this one. This was tough. You both had very compelling reasons why you chose that person. Even I really appreciated, Richard, you bringing that character into our universe, our world. I appreciated that. But Ryan had a nice counter for every single thing. And
that's
gave us a little bit more of the diversity of what his character can do, meeting interesting people. I like your spin that you said will put you more in danger, but Ryan really hit with I'd rather be with somebody who's accepts his responsibilities but doesn't shirk them. So my point is going to go to Ryan. All right, JB3.
I'm sorry. This is just going to build to the next time Richard and I face each other.
Yeah,
probably. It's already happening.
That match.
It's already happening. Even if it's just a random trivia thing, you guys are still going to argue.
Yeah.
All right. JB3, hey, not bad for your first one, right?
Oh gosh, it was amazing. To tell you the truth, for the first one, it was great, and this last speed round was it was really, really good. You know, I'm going to give my point to this competitor because of all, you know, their snapbacks are really, really good. But the other guy, he kind of lost me in the beginning. In reality, I'm gonna give my point to Ryan. Yeah, you really, you know, like you said, you know, you really came with the rebuttals, the snapbacks. I mean, you had a response for everything. And Richard, I mean, you kind of lost me with your first sentence in the debate was Jon Snow has never betrayed anybody, and it just irked me out because he betrayed someone on the last.
You cannot use that as your own argument. Ryan did not bring that up. That cannot reflect your argument. And that's the only thing I would challenge this question right now. That is the sole basis.
It's not my whole basis. No, it just threw me off.
If it's a huge reason, you can't have that in your argument until Ryan counters it. That's my problem.
Well, that was the first thing I said. The first thing I said was the counters. It was the counters. You just threw me off.
Lost me.
Well, that just threw me off. But you know, his responses were just like that, and that was the real big thing.
I know. I'm just
technically I didn't lie. Excited about this
technically, I didn't lie because he never did betray Daenerys. Daenerys betrayed him first.
Yeah, you can interpret that. All right, regardless of it all,
Ryan wins.
Okay,
congratulations.
And you're a winner.
Our rubber match is happening, Richard. It's gonna happen.
You guys are gonna face off. This has been far too entertaining. You guys will battle, even if it's just us hanging around, just doing it, you know, with our spare time. Mr. Peck, I want to, you know, what do you have to say? You know, we have a clear winner with Ryan, but what was your point going?
Funny enough, mine will be the opposite. I will go my point to Richard on this one though, because my point would have gone to Richard because he put out the reason why Jon Snow will be
a better companion.
Will be a best companion along with you right here though. Funny enough, JB mentioned that it's being a best loyal right here though. I wish Ryan could have bred that up right here, during the rebuttal right here, but he didn't. And for me, I would have get my point to Richard, but it's okay.
Oh, I wouldn't. I wouldn't have given my point to me. I did fucking terrible.
No, you actually did well. We'll get to all that. We'll get to all that.
Sorry, I'm very sorry.
The reason that the points are going back and forth is because two amazing competitors, very, very strong arguments for every single round, for every single question, a lot of passion and a lot of knowledge about all of these topics, which is always impressive and always fun. Let's go to our winner, Mr. Payne. How are you feeling?
I feel like before this whole thing started, before I got myself stressed out, I had like 4 hard seltzers, and I feel like I'm burning all of them off right now. God damn. But no, when I knew I was paired up against Richard, I had to come hard. I had to bring some good options and even some out of left field options to throw him off, but he stayed true. I mean, the fact is we both are tied 1-1 in chokeslam for a reason. The fact we can always get at each other. Which is why I know now Richard is going to even come harder at me if we face each other again in late TV fights. It's pretty much like Batman and Joker. We are destined to do this forever. Which one of us is the Joker? Which one of us is Batman? You decide.
Nice comparison. Yeah. Very apt comparison. All right, Mr. Richard, how you feeling, man?
First of all, congratulations, Ryan. That whole last bit I just did was just me being a sore loser because I knew I fucking lost that round. Because here's a spoiler alert: I'm not a huge fan of Game of Thrones. I've seen all the seasons and episodes. I just wasn't a huge fan. So when they came with Game of Thrones, I'm like, oh god damn it, no. But it was a great freaking match. I love Ryan's choices. I love my choices. It was a close battle. I mean, it went to the speed round. I mean, well, that's how great the match is. And, like, obviously, I just was a sore loser towards the end because I knew I was going to win that speed
This is
round
our
question.
first time going to the speed round. We've always
Yeah, I know.
wins.
Yeah, basically. No, I mean, but like I say, Ryan, congrats. I may have taken another loss, but I'll be back next time, taking another better competitor, working more on more of my arguments. I get better every time I do this, and hopefully, if it gets to speed round again, I won't be as big of a sore loser as I was today. But Ryan, congrats. You earned it.
All right, excellent. And yes, you guarantee we'll be back because you're getting better every single time, and the passion is always there, and the fun, which is why we love doing this. So let's go ahead and close this out. Well, let's get a little word of JB3. This was your first judging, so live up to your expectations.
Oh, it exceeded my expectations, to tell you the truth. It was really, really cool. It's my first experience being, on a debate type of trivia match, or I say trivia match because that's normally what I'm used to, but just some type of debating. It's kind of exhilarating, to be honest. Like a lot of emotions get like expressed through everything, and I just appreciate you guys letting me be on here. And I judging, no judging, I want to see this match again. I want to see these two go at it again. So much.
Excellent. You probably will, guarantee, see these two go at it again. Raptor Master, you've been through quite a few more of these. How'd you feel this one fared?
First off, I'm exhausted. Like,
I'll let Mr. Rogers
don't worry. You have not, Richard. You have not. I'm very straight here tonight, right here. I don't know, maybe the room I'm in right now, or maybe it's the argument, but you two put a great job right here. It just really put great back and forth right here. All the questions right here. And I didn't know it was maybe the funniest one, and not only just like TV fight, but any debate argument right here throughout TMG's history. It might be another one, but this one might be the funniest one.
I'm going to have to concur. Yeah, I'm going to have to concur. This was probably one of them. I've definitely laughed the most during this than all the other ones that I've judged or hosted. This was an excellent battle, gentlemen. Thank you, JB3, for sharing this with me. Thank you, Mr. Peck, for going down this journey with me. And to our competitors, excellent job. Thank you, guys. Big mahalo. And, all you guys out there, keep watching all those TV shows. Keep taking all those notes because you never know when you're going to have to battle it out. All right. Aloha.